Back I was a kid in the 2000s, everyone used to play trading card games or TCG in the playground, especially Yu-Gi-Oh! And our parents always come with that question,
なんでやるんだよ。楽しいから。超楽しいから。
But watching TV is fun, playing video games is fun, so why playing card games instead doing the others? The appeal of this kind of game is based on how human nature that companies profit. So if you're a card game player or if you plan to make one someday, you should stay until the end, because we'll learn how TCG are designed to be addictive.
It's time to do.
When it comes to design a new TCG, what do card makers must think first? Certainly not about the rules of the universe, because it misses the most important point of a product design. What problem does it resolve?
何これ? 何これ?
And if you answer boredom, I remind you that there was a ton of activities to get away from it. In fact, the issues TCG resolves lies in our unconscious needs. Psychologist Abraham Maslow created in the 40s the theory of needs hierarchy, also known as the Maslow pyramid. From bottom to top, we have physiological needs, safety, belongingness, esteem, and self-actualization. So, does a card game resolve physiological needs? Obviously not, we can survive without it. Does a card game resolve safety need? Also not, we don't panic without it. Does a card game resolve social need? We can stop here because it does. TCG and games in general are only a pretext for social interactions, and we can see that with the most basic mechanic of a TCG, the face-to-face opposition, which means you must play with other people. And when the process occurs a lot of time, it leads to a community of players. So before thinking of the content of the game, the company must be able to build a community around it. Normally, it should be going like this. First, the build community will be established by the players seeking other players, and by growing they will develop their own culture with symbols, technical terms and reference to distinguish them from non-players and other TCG's players.
Are you serious?
Ultimately, the community will be an end by itself. You can drop off the game but still talking to the people, and to enter into this community, you will have to buy cards.
Shut up and take my money!
But once the company set out other elements to grow a community, which people should be on it? At first, you could think they can talk to TCG regular players, but this is a bad idea for two reasons. Yes, these people know their basics and are prime target to it, but there are not that many, so the community would be limited to hardcore players, which is very risky if you need to massively sell. And for most, they're already dedicated to another game. They could split some attention in your game, but casually, because they will spend the most of the time on the main one. So a better solution is to build a brand new community with people who never went into TCG before, but who will be hooked on it for several years. That's why most common targets are kids. And I don't think I need to explain why, just think about the childhood games who use cards. So now the company has their target they want to get, but how will they tell them that their product exists? The most basic way is commercials, but they are too short. So how can they generate the hype for their game on the long term? You guessed it with the title of the video, anime. The main issue when you want to sell things to kids is you can't use the game characteristics as selling arguments. Try to explain that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is easier because it doesn't have a resource mechanic.
そこまで言われると躊躇するな。だが断る。
Instead of that, it's better to show the benefits they will have by playing the game. Like for example, showing a guy making a lot of friends and becoming popular by beating strong opponents. Or another example, a girl going to an idol school and using cards to transform into an idol and perform concerts. These shows involve cool fantasy elements and worth-saving premises, but there will be always an overlay to their real appeal. Individuals making friends and become cool. A remarkable promise to every kid who projects himself or herself into the characters that the TCG can fulfill. If everything goes well, the TCG should have a first core of players the company can make grow. But I can hear you. Okay, but what you said was for kids and for new games, but in already existing games, there are still new players, many adults among them, and playing for the game. And I will answer, yes there are. But once again, it's to fill a need. The next one in the list is Steam. Once a TCG is well established, each player should contribute on it. but nobody contributes equally. Some people will play casually, while others will dedicate a lot of their time. So how should we distinguish them? Since the goal of every TCG is to defeat your opponent, the leaders are the best players.
And that is why you lost.
And to prove that fact, there are tournaments, from the local shop to worldwide event. The more you perform, the more you can show your mastery of the game, but before reaching that point, you should study the game further and find the most efficient way to win. However, with the same cards, the set of strategy called the meta will be limited at a certain point, so companies introduce another basic mechanic to fit everyone. The deck. For newbies, they can buy a trial deck with a predetermined composition, but more advanced players will build the ideal deck with other cards from booster packs, composed of random cards.
Just garbage. Only need one thing.
Deck building is an important point in TCGs to diversify the meta, but also for a more subtle reason. The more there are cards, the less deck would be the same among players, of course unless you pick a deck list from someone else. Each player could build a deck perfectly designed for him or her. Each player becomes unique and can express their own personality with it. But after releasing new cards, another problem arises: the unbalance. Starting a certain point, some card would be so powerful that it can ruin the balance, a key point for TCG. All the players would use them, ruining the meta in the same equation. And nobody likes to use the same deck as the other ones, except if you are a high level player where decks tend to look alike. To counter that, company repeatedly resets the meta by releasing new products, and this new card will add new content which be used by the players to build new strategies. Or they simply put restrictions, making a ban list like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or different format like Pokemon.
ダメダメダメダメダメダメダメ。君は死ななくてはならないんだ。
But we are talking about strong cards since a moment, but how can we recognize them? Of course by reading their effects, but it can be a bit too abstract, especially if you are not into the game. So every TCGs have a card ranking basing on the rarity, usually from common to any superlatives. But once again, it's still a bit too abstract to make the difference between a 50-cent card and the 100 one. To make the distinction, rare cards contain distinctive graphic elements, like a glossy finish, a gold title, or even a printed sign. These elements are here for aesthetical reasons, but also to signal them as rare, thus powerful. Without any surprise, these items cost a lot and are researched by players.
あ、現実のお金じゃないですから。
With all the elements we talk about, diversity, balance, rarity, we should obtain a fun game. The mechanics can be complex or the design can involve random stuff, but we have the fundamentals of a game people want to play for a long time, until it becomes a full part of their identity.
Don't banish on my neck! Don't banish!
Cringe.
The world of trading card game is a fascinating marketing case study. The marketers are paid to find the real reason of why someone should buy their product. And this is what we did in this video. Beyond fun, TCG are designed based on our will to be accepted and recognized into a community. So if you want to create a TCG, you should be care about these 5 elements. Have a game easy to learn and to understand. Create distinctive signs players will use to recognize their likes. Have a competitive sense where players can show their skill. Watch out what is saying about the meta and regularly update it with new cards. And make the powerful cards rare and use elements to show they are. Seems to be too cold, isn't it? But it's not. Because if you are a TCG player, you discover the game in TV or a friend dragged you into it and you got a lot of fun. Then you meet new players who become your friends. Altogether, you study the game and travel to unknown locations, tournament to tournament. Making results or not, this is not the most important. The journey is, the laugh, the struggles, and by pursuing it, you indeed become more social, more popular, more self-confident, exactly like the hero of your childhood. Bonjour les filles, it's Vin, and I wanted to thank all the people on the Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Weiss Schwarz subreddit for kindly answering my question. I'm still beginning, so write what I should improve in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, press the like button and subscribe to the channel to not miss new business content every 2 weeks. And don't forget, anime is an art, but also a business. À la prochaine les filles.